Literally, the most frustrating thing ever is producing a job, finishing it, and after the fact, realizing you lost money on it. Or in general, just going over budget and not being able to understand what even happened to be going over budget in the first place. So today, we're going to talk about how to track your job sites profitably. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Brian. I help people improve their painting businesses. So today we're going to talk about how to track job site profitability. We are going to touch base on an easy way to do it. We're going to talk about how you can get help just so it's not all on your shoulders. And then at the very end of the video, I'm going to give you a little bonus tip on how I integrate it with my team and my operations staff. So focusing on the first portion of that though, being able to track it. The easiest way that I've kind of come across is basically creating your own formula sheet through Excel or Google Sheets. Again, everything that I'm going to talk about is basically easier ways to kind of track and integrate something that doesn't really cost much money. It only costs the time that you would put into it yourself. So I will say from the get-go that there are other easier ways to integrate this if you're a larger company and you have a lot more jobs to track on a continual basis. And all of that can be done within your CRM system or whatever process you typically would use. But just for the sake of this video, I'm assuming you have nothing set up and you're not really kind of tracking it properly. This is what that's geared towards. So again, Excel sheet or Google sheet, the things you're going to be tracking basically on a daily basis are how much material you spend, how many hours you log, and all of that is leveraged against your labor rate with burden, which we'll talk about in a minute, and your total job cost. So let's actually take a look at what one of those formula sheets look like, just so we can kind of explain and articulate how it's structured and what it actually spits out for you. So here is what the actual Excel sheet looks like for tracking. This is for Bleal Interior. So Bleal is just the last name of the job that we're on. But you can see here it has project name, start date, crew leader, crew size, projected materials budgeted, average pay rate with labor burden is 25. I'll explain how to get that in a minute. Average charge rate, this is what you charge per hour to the customer before you add in paint and material. This is the total price of the job and labor hours. So everything labeled in green right here is stuff that you input before you start tracking. You start tracking materials and the labor hours basically. So every single day you just track those two spots and then everything else kind of calculates itself for you. So on this one, if you follow the mouse, well actually before we get into that, the average pay rate with labor burden, what that means is, let's say that you have a painter making $22 an hour on the site, and then you have a painter making $18 an hour. So it's a crew of two people, and their blended labor rate is $20 an hour. So your blended labor rate is $20 an hour, but you have to factor in taxes after you process their payroll, factor in workers' comp, any behind the scene number metric kind of goes into this number right here. So what I did, I just took the blended pay rate, so 22 to 18, which is what both people made on this one. I got 20, and I just multiplied it by 1.25 to get $25 per hour. So even though the crew members are making 18 and 22 an hour, you're basically projecting and perceiving that you're spending $25 per hour per person. Okay, so in other words, right here, materials purchased, every single day you're on the job, you just log how much was purchased at the end of the day, and it automatically gets calculated here. So the reason we're over a little bit on there is this 308 number. That's actually something that I just bonused out to one of our crew leads for finishing under budget. You can see down here, total hours were 60. We budgeted 74. So we actually were 14 hours under what was approximated. I'm pretty generous with my teams. I actually bonused the crew lead those 14 hours at the blended pay rate. So like that 308 is technically not material. That's just like a bonus. So like current gross profit on this job, while still bonusing our crew lead, we still gross 54% profit on this one, which is pretty dang good. So like if you would add like 10 more hours here, for example, gross profit changes down to 50%. Like everything basically, changes as you kind of keep inputting and subtracting. So up here, let's see. So this is like another Excel sheet that I created myself. Again, if you have QuickBooks or like a bookkeeping service, they can integrate all this for you. This is just something that I made personally whenever I started my company up. I still use it just to track stuff on a more micro scale. But you can basically see where we're going under or over. You can the labor plus tax, again, that's total labor amount times 1.25. Everything's formulated in here, again, so it all calculates itself. How much paint material is spent on the job, projected profit, profit percent, and then whether we collect it or not. So again, this is how I kind of like track it with our actual tracking sheet here. But yeah, if you go back up here, this is basically the tracking sheet in a nutshell. So that's the tracking sheet in a nutshell. You can see that, as long as you're getting fed the information at the end of each day on your job site in regards to how much material spent and how many hours were logged for that job, you can get a really good sense of how much profit you're going to be making on the job, like well in advance before you even finish it. Which that's the ultimate goal here whenever you're tracking. Like you should be knowing how much profit you're expected to make, assuming that you finish it on the budgeted hours. If you go over, then like you'll at least know how much you're going to go over on. So if you're getting a sense that you're going a little bit more slow the first day or two for the project, then you can basically project that into that actual Excel sheet. So like if you're going to go over budget about 12 labor hours, what's my profit going to look like? Will I still make money? Am I at break even? All of that's pretty relevant. That way you can plan a couple of days before you finish it. And then if you need to, you can always shuffle people around, put like lower hourly rate people on that to kind of compensate for that over budget and all that stuff. So again, biggest thing and the easiest way to kind of track it is just to have like some sort of sheet if you don't have it integrated with your bookkeeping service, depending on what you do. But assuming that you actually have that set up, your next issue is going to be, or like not issue, but like your next thing you should probably focus on is how can I actually get the information at the end of each day, and like when should I actually budget my personal time to start tracking this stuff. Assuming you're the one doing the tracking on your own and you don't have somebody in the office doing it for you. So what I actually do with my team, I basically have each crew lead scheduled before they leave for the work day at the end of their day. I have a template that I have them like save into the notes on their phone, and they basically update me with the stats for the day for their respective job, and I make them text it over to me in our group chat with all of the leads at the end of each workday, and that's the information that I actually use, putting it into those Excel sheets at the end of our workday. So let's just say the crew finishes at 5 o'clock for the day. I get the text before 5 o'clock, and then typically around like 5:30 or 6, either me or somebody else in our office will actually input the material spent and the hours logged for the day. That way, the following morning, first thing, or like later on that evening, we can plan accordingly, depending on if there are any hiccups that day, or do we need to spend a little bit more material here. We typically know enough to plan ahead for the following day to make sure that the next day is set up for success and, not a shit show. So, actually, I'm going to pop up a box right here. This is basically the outline that I have my crew leads text over to me every single day. So all that they do, again, they save it into the notes on their phone. They just, fill out the information accordingly, copy it, paste it, send it over into our group chat with all of our crew leads, which I use. It could be a group text, or you can download the app called WhatsApp. And then I just take that information. I know exactly what got done that day, how many hours were logged, was it prep versus paint hours, how much material did we spend, were there any hiccups, are we on pace still? So again, that alone, the fact that I'm getting help doing that, it's honestly been a game changer in the sense that I can free up more of my mental energy to focus on other aspects of the company throughout the day, instead of thinking, what's all the moving parts for like every single job site that we have going on that day. Because it can get pretty busy once you get, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plus job sites going on at the same time. So again, first thing you want to do, have an Excel sheet or Google sheet to track it. Second thing you want to do, just figure out a way to get the information from your team, and just have, that feedback loop from production site to office admin, and then input that at the end of each day. So like you should be doing this every day, and as an owner, you should be knowing your numbers better than anyone, So if you do those two steps, there's really no reason why you shouldn't be really profitable and making really good money with you and your company in the year that you're in, respectively. So I told you in the beginning of the video, I'm going to give you a little bit of a bonus on how I integrate that with my team. So in other words, what we just talked about with the crew leads basically texting over that template script that I have them send over every single day. After they do that, again, before they leave, I have them log into our Trello app. So it depends on if you watch the actual video talking about Trello. But Trello is an app that I use to integrate all of our work orders. So every single crew lead across the board, they basically have access to the job specs on their phone. So a part of that work order, there's a section on there at the very bottom that they can post comments. So I actually have them take that templated script that we talked about today, post it in the comments on that work order, on that job, on their Trello board. Just so, again, it's in our text message chain, it's in Trello, just so, again, everybody can refer to it. So that way, if you have somebody in your office staff that needs to look into a job that wasn't included in our actual operations group chat, they still have the information that they need to, figure out anything for any job, respectively. So that's in the comment section on that job, on the Trello board. And in an effort to create a culture of accountability with every single crew lead, to get them bought in to being able to to finish jobs on budget or under budget, just so we're a profitable company and we can actually bonus them more so they can make more money. I have them log how many hours have been logged on the job so far, year to date, and how many hours were budgeted. So they're always looking at that number every single day. So they know in themselves, if I only have 2 more days with me and one other guy to finish this job, how can I do it? It creates a culture of them being able to critically think before they actually come to work the following day. And it just sets themselves up better for success. And ever since we've been doing that, we've been producing jobs under budget or on budget about 70% of the time, compared to about 30% before I started doing that, which that 40% jump, it's a huge difference in terms of profitability for our company, and it's been a total game changer. Okay, so there you have it. Again, between tracking, a way to make it easier, getting help so it's not all on your shoulders, receiving information, inputting into the formula sheets, and then having your culture of accountability set with your team, of having them know where they're at on the jobs respectively every single day, just streamlines your success to be profitable with your company. So again, until next time, my name's Brian. I help people improve their painting businesses. There's probably a link to a video up here about Trello or my operations model specifically if you wanted to take a deeper dive. I will catch you in the next video. Thanks.